y'all want to stand with me, we're going to begin as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and pledge. And we're here at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the city of Hendersonville. It's January 11th, 2021, just a hair past 7 o'clock. Like I said, we're going to begin as we typically do with a prayer and pledge. So please, after the prayer, remain standing with me for the pledge. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come here before so many people and before you and to serve you. Thank you for the gift, talents, and abilities you provided to us and help us to do your work, not just tonight, but as we go from here. And thank you for the opportunities to serve you far, far away. And also thank you for the people who protect us, not just the people who protect us here, but the people who protect us far, far away. Also, we want to ask you to provide your continued blessings on Rachel Collins, on Pam and Amy LaSurf, and on family and friends of Coach Jerry Landers, as well as all those folks that are dealing with this disease and any illness, and the people who provide care for them. And help us to do your work today and every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept our agenda. I need a motion first. We've got a motion from Alderman Edwards, a second from Alderman Hayes. Alderman Brown.
I have, I'm sure Keith mentioned this a while ago, but under item number 4, the word self-storage should not be in there. It is not on the ordinance itself, but it is on the agenda. So I don't want anybody to be confused about that, because I called and had that discussion today.
Okay.
And I'd also, can you tell us how number 9 and number 10 are going to go? Are those ladies going to be able to speak and
that's up to us if we want to do that.
Questions and
it's up to us if we want to do that. We've allowed them to speak before. I don't think we've ever asked questions of the candidates in this situation before.
Yeah.
Totally up to us.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, is that Jason is going to provide a slide up there that's going to have the 2 names. We don't vote on one and then vote on the other. We have an election. And
Right.
we won't do it electronically, as we will call roll when we do that.
Okay.
So,
I'd like to hear them both speak.
Okay, let's go back to the first item. And we need a second on item number 4 to remove the word self-storage.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second there. I'd like to go ahead and vote on that. That's pretty simple. Anybody have a question or discussion on that item? Okay. All in favor under ordinance and resolutions, item number 4, removing the word self-storage, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Brown, anything else?
Oh, sure. Thank
Okay,
you.
appreciate that. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to add Resolution 2022-04, which is a resolution to apply for the SAFER grant for new firefighters for Fire Station number 7. We discussed this in committee today. The reason for asking the waive of the 2-week rule is because it needs to be filed by February 3rd, and I don't want to take a chance with weather this time of year if we should, possibly lose the opportunity. So that would be item number 7.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, a second from Alderman Edwards. Any discussion? I've got something if anybody else wants to discuss this item. Jesse and I had asked Chief Bush to get together some numbers of what that would cost the city years 4 and beyond there. We had just asked him to provide that, and he hasn't had time to get that to us. I have a hard time voting on that item if we don't have a bigger explanation of what it will cost the city after the grant expires. So the grant is for 3 years, pays 100%, and then we have to continue to employ those folks at the city's cost after that. I have a hard time voting on that without knowing what those costs are. Chief Bush can't get that together in 30 minutes. I appreciate the the Public Safety Committee and what y'all did. If weather knocks us out, I will schedule a special meeting just for this.
Okay.
Feel free to go for it if you want to, but I'll absolutely, if weather knocks us out, since it's a resolution, I will make sure that we schedule a special meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll withdraw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alderman Edwards?
Nothing.
Okay. So you're okay withdrawing? Okay. Alderman Edwards, are you okay withdrawing?
I'll withdraw myself.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and we will have an abundance of figures when that comes back to help us with that decision. Alderman Cunningham, anything?
No, it was about that.
Okay, I appreciate that. So we just have just the one change. We're back to the main motion on the agenda. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we're up to presentations. I want to introduce Larry Phillips. Larry, let me turn the microphone on down there. I want to introduce Larry Phillips. And Larry, tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're wearing a silly hat, and what you're going to tell us about, please.
A silly hat in January. Well, we happen to wear them all year long because we are Holiday Fest. And for those of you who don't know, Holiday Fest is a organization that helps 501c3 organizations in Sumner County raise money for their cause. We're 16 years in doing this. So far this year, we've raised over $100,000 to give back to the citizens of Sumner County, and we're not done yet because, personally, I haven't even gotten all my sponsorship money from the Indian Lake Loop on Thanksgiving Day, which is pushing towards $25,000, but we don't know yet. So that's just a little bit of what we do. What we're here for tonight is to award the winners in the Christmas parade who won first place or second place in their specific categories. So I'm going to name or announce who that is, and if somebody is here from that organization, please come forward so that we can give you your plaque. For the dance team, second place is the Workplace for Dancers. On behalf of them, Jonathan. And in first place, Toes of Grace Dance Studio. The next category is for nonprofits. The second place nonprofit was the Civitan Tackle Football Club. And first place was Cub Scout Pack 404. And last but not least, our business winners. Second place, Kimbrough Air. Oh, look! Oh, come on.
How many taking days?
And in first place, Tennessee Boat Lifts and Docks. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A good picture.
Oh, sweet.
That's enough.
Your hand's kind of sweaty there, you know? I mean,
Well, get away.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Board, thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Larry. Is Karma Gardner with us? Okay, we're going to move to the next one, and we will put this off for a couple weeks. So now what I need Michelle Owens over here, please. We have a couple members of the Rotary Club. If y'all would come down here, that would be certainly appropriate. We don't get to accept money too often. We certainly appreciate it with some other members of the Rotary Club. Yeah, please, 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 please. And Michelle, I'm sorry, Russ.
Come on, Russ. Mr. Pancake.
And I'm going to have Michelle explain why she's here and why she has a check.
But anyway.
Come on, Michelle, you got this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We are gifting the city with $9,443 to use for the Rotary Fountain there at Memorial Park Plaza as our continued investment in our veterans and our first responders. Last year we did dedicate our first responder memorial. And as part of that was a recognition that our first responders and our veterans exemplify the Rotary motto as service above self. Our first responders memorial makes a recognition that not everybody goes home. This year we are working on a project of a gold star marker to kind of complete that thought. So we are certainly very grateful for our first responders and for our veterans, and we want to give this gift to the city as our continued gratitude for those folks.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And we look forward to doing the work on that fountain, and it'll be wonderful. Appreciate it very much. So thank you. I need some rugby folks. Actually, Barbie, if you want to stay, you can. And I need our Director of Parks. You notice Vanessa's not coming up here, but. I'm going to have Andy Gilly, our Parks Director, tell you about the pretty cool award that he's got in his hand, and then ask him to speak a little bit more about these guys and give them an opportunity to speak as well. So go ahead.
Thank you. We are here tonight to present the Sumner County Rugby Club with an award that our Parks Department received from the Tennessee State Recreation and Parks Association. That's kind of our governing body as a Parks Department, who we do a lot of work with, who we model a lot of our policies after. That's our state body. And they give out 4 categories of 4-star awards at our state conference each year. We've been blessed the last 3 years to get an award for a special event or for a new construction project, Mary's Magical Place. This year, we received the 4-star award for Best New Facility with a budget of $500,000 or less. Now, that being said, one of these is sitting in our foyer down in the hall, but it really needs to go to the Sumner County Rugby Club because the first phase of their project to build these fields and put us on a map across the nation was because of their efforts. And they've been looking for a home for a long time. It's a place that has made rugby and Hendersonville a place to come across the nation. And I'm excited to give this to them. Once we get restrooms built, maybe we can display it out there instead of at somebody's house. So I don't know who's going to speak. Brian probably has something to say, but these guys and their families have done a lot of work and made our city look really, really good. And I appreciate it, and I know you all do too. So thank you. It's kind of weird looking.
You know, Andy did mention about, getting known around the nation. Just so everybody knows, this coming Saturday, I know it sounds like it's probably going to maybe turn into potential snow, but we do have a USA South select team coming in town to play a Northeast Pacific select men's team. So I've got coming in town to Hendersonville. Friday they'll be doing practices out there on the complex, but we have players coming from California, Oregon, state of Washington, coming from one side, and the USA South team is going to be comprised of players from Florida, Tennessee, the Carolinas, kind of think of more the South region. What really makes us and the coaching staff even more proud of this particular small event we have this weekend is that one of our very own, homegrown here from Hendersonville will be playing for the USA South team. He's also been recognized as one of the top 150 collegiate rugby players in the nation. And so if you see a striking kind of Thor, but red hair, that's him. He's got super long red hair. His name's Colby Pearl. Went to HHS, graduated, I think, in 17, I think it was. So the years are starting to run together for me. But we're so excited about the park and you all, believing in us to be able to get this done. We couldn't have done it without Andy and some of his, some of the staff. I mean, Futch was actually a huge part of this entire project. And, we're glad that we're able to bring a small sliver of our sport to everybody else here in Sumner County. So thanks again.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Andy.
Turn this off. Hey.
No, leave it on. I got to take it care of. Thank you. Yeah. Chief Bush. You let people know that the property that we have rugby on, it was donated by Durham Farms, and we now have a facility that is unlike anything else in Middle Tennessee. And we have colleges, we have clubs, we have high schools traveling from far away to come here, and they're spending the night and they're spending money. So that's wonderful. Chief Bush, you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Okay.
So obviously after the EF1 tornado that came through our city just a couple of weeks ago, there was some discussion in the community with council folks, and they had reached out to me to discuss basically what a polygon is, how it affects our city, and how Code Red actually distributes the weather alerts. So it's a short presentation. We did that for a reason. I will reiterate the fact that Code Red is a free service to all the folks in the city of Hendersonville and Sumner County. If you don't know how to sign up, don't understand how that works, it's not a free service that comes to your phone when you buy a phone. We certainly at the fire department and the police department would love for you to reach out to us and us educate you and get you signed up for the Code Red process. So we'll go through this presentation real quick because I know you folks have stuff to do. Have a local fire department in Alabama that I saw that put something up, confusing what's a watch versus what's a warning. So basically, everybody likes tacos. So I thought maybe I'd make some relevance to tacos and describe the difference in a watch and a warning. So basically, when you're expecting severe weather, we thought we would certainly clarify the difference between a watch and a warning. A watch means the ingredients are coming together for severe weather in the next few hours. And of course, a warning means severe weather is occurring as of immediately or right now. So the difference being a watch would be we have all the ingredients to make tacos, and then the warning would be we're getting ready to eat some tacos. So if that kind of triggers your thought process from this point forward, I know I've struggled with that my entire life. I always have to look it up. But now that I have a taco to relate it to, I'm probably going to remember it the rest of my life. So anyway, next slide, please. So let's talk about a polygon and how they got established. In 2007, there was lots of weather events that's happened in the Middle Tennessee area. Basically, the alerts would go out citywide, depending on what city and depending on what National Weather Service alerted folks to. So basically, in 2007, instead of creating that mass hysteria in one area, the complete area, they follow the National Weather Service and they issue polygons based on the science behind the storms and how they're growing and the path they've taken prior to reaching our great city. So basically, a polygon is designed by the National Weather Service, and we pick those areas, or Code Red picks those areas, and they distribute that out instead of sending it out citywide. I'm sure there'll be some questions after this from the board, and I'll answer those as well. Basically, a polygon, it's our goal to only alert those folks that are inside that polygon for the immediate danger of severe weather. Again, technology and outdoor sirens and personal warning devices advances. We want to try to minimize your opportunity to get a false alarm rate. It's kind of like the boy that cried wolf syndrome. Lots of times you'll get a false warning and we become complacent. That's just human nature. So the polygons are designed to try to reduce that opportunity so we don't create that mass hysteria when the alerts go out. It does not actually affect your location if you're not within that polygon, so you kind of get to rest on your heels on that. If you're ever in doubt over whether you're at risk, obviously we're going to tell you to start paying attention to your local weather services and your weather channels. Next slide, please. So basically a polygon, like I said, is designed through the National Weather Service. This is, can you go back, please? I'm not sure what happened. Thank you. So this is the actual weather event that came through this last time in our city. And if you notice the polygon, we just caught a glimpse of it from Code Red. We asked them to send that to us. Everything north of 386 was not in that polygon. So basically the tornado came across the peninsula, the Saunders Ferry, Walton Ferry area, Shady Drive. There's a lot of areas over there, Luna Lane, that it came across, and it came straight across the lake into the Indian Lake Peninsula. So those were the actual areas that were hit with that polygon. The actual blue circle on the one that does not have the polygon is a residence, the latitude and longitude of a resident that reached out to us that had some concerns as to why he was not alerted. And obviously this is the reason why he was not alerted to the severe weather. So the polygons, again, are trying to reduce the opportunity to create fear amongst everybody in the city, and they're designed based off the National Weather Service's recommendations. Next slide, please. Basically, we still encourage folks to have at least 2 ways to receive any kind of weather notification. Obviously, Code Red, we want you to sign up for that. It's a free service that we offer for everybody. We've tried to do mass notifications of that, how to get people to sign up for it. Obviously, weather radios are another option. Tornado sirens are an option. And then, of course, use your local weather channels and their apps as well. Next slide. And then, obviously, if there's any questions, I'll certainly take those questions.
hold on here. Alderman Robertson, I have to find you. There you go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chief Bush. I called you about that because I had a question from a resident of Durham Farms, and we were not notified of the strong winds. We were notified of the tornado, but we were not notified, and we found out that in our polygon, and polygon is just an artificial boundary markings, and if there's no severe weather in that polygon, you don't get notified.
Correct.
But would you go back one slide, please? So could you tell us about, if you know, the number of people that have signed up in Hendersonville? Do you have any idea the number of weather radios that are out there and the number of people that have signed up to local weather channels?
I do not know the answer to the last two questions as far as how many people have weather radios. I do have some ideas that we talked about in the Public Safety Committee meeting of how we might be able to offer those. Obviously, as far as how many folks have apps on their phones, I don't have any way of knowing that either. I can say that for Code Red from the last weather event, which was in 2020, I think, that came across the same peninsula along the lake line that had some severe winds that were associated with that. From then to now, we had an 11% uptick because that's really when we started driving folks to sign up for Code Red. And I think we really hit the nail on the head in the Public Safety Committee meeting. I think it was said in there that basically fear is what drives folks to sign up for this app. And if we don't do it and act on it quickly, I don't want to use that as a motivator, but if we don't act on people's fear of inclement weather to get people to sign up for it, they're going to forget about it, and they're not going to use the free service. So we would like to again, drive home the fact that we're willing to help sign you up for Code Red. We feel like it's very important, and it doesn't matter if your phone's on silent at night. It will come across your phone regardless. It'll wake you up. So.
Well, I appreciate the Public Safety Committee taking this matter up. And I think that they're going to work with the staff on developing maybe some strategies to better promote, those notifications. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Edwards.
Chief, if you could again go over for the people that are watching how people can sign up for the Code Red service.
So basically, you can go to the city website, www.hvltn.org. You can find our department, the fire department department that's on the tab there. Once you go there, it's on the very front page of our website. I don't know if Jason can pull that up now or not. He's trying to work on that right now. But when you pull up that front page of ours, if I'm not mistaken, that Code Red logo is at the very bottom of that. You click on that logo and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to sign up for Code Red. However, if you're not computer savvy like myself, I'm a ticker. I use several different fingers throughout the day so I don't hurt just one. We would encourage you to call us, and we'll certainly get you signed up. So what has to happen is you have to create a email address and a password that we can create for you initially, but you're going to have to change that because you're going to be the one that has to remember that. So we can guide you through that process. We're more than happy to do that. And it is, like, again, it's a free service. There it is right there. If you'll scroll down, I think you'll find it right there on the left-hand side. Sign up for Code Red. You click on that tab, and it should take you to it and give you step-by-step instructions on how to use and sign up for Code Red.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And again, you can have your phone on silent so you don't receive any rings, but Code Red notifications will still go through?
Yes, sir. It's kind of like an Amber Alert or anything like that goes on at night. Sometimes you'll get those from the TBI. It will override any kind of silence mode that you have your phone in to let you know that there is severe weather coming your way.
Thank you, Chief.
Alderman Edwards, thank you. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
Appreciate this very, very much. Any other questions? Chief, appreciate you walking through that and explaining the situation. Next, we have a public hearing for Ordinance 2021-44. This is to hear comments on a request by WFC Durham Holdings 7 LLC to annex and rezone 6.93 acres to mixed residential plan development, that's MXC-PD, as included in the approved Durham Farms Phase 4 final development plan. We have nobody who has signed up for that. And now we have minutes. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve our minutes from December 14th, 2021. I have a motion from Alderman Waters, who's down here on my left for some reason, and a second from Alderman Cunningham. That confused me for a second. Any discussion on the minutes from December 14th? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Okay, so we have abstentions from Alderman Brown and Alderman Collins, who is down, okay? And, okay. And next we have citizen comments. We have 4 people signed up. Citizen comment speakers must identify themselves by name and address. I will probably do that for you. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. Cheryl Sessler, River Chase.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. I've been a resident of Hendersonville for 24 years, living in Ward 5. I've been working in Hendersonville since 1988, and I opened a business in Ward 2, which is still in Ward 2, back in 1991. So I'm a long-term resident of Hendersonville. I love our community, and I love our people here. I can't imagine living anywhere else, and that's why I'm here tonight. I respectfully request that you appoint Julie White as our next alderman, filling the vacancy in Ward 2. I do not make this recommendation lightly, but this I know. Julie loves the community and has eagerly served for many, many years. I have known Julie a long time and can vouch for her integrity, abilities, and love of Hendersonville. Julie and I are both graduates of the Leadership Sumner class of 2000, and she was eager at the end of that class to volunteer and get appointed to be the program director for the following year. And this is an unpaid, time-consuming job, really, but it was important to her that the next class go through and have a great experience like we did so that they could go out in the community and do the service that was very important to her. We're both in the Morning Rotary Club and have been for years, and I've really worked alongside Julie or just watched her go for the many projects, fundraisers, and things that she does. If she's involved in it, we know it will get done, which is a wonderful reputation. She embodies, you've heard it earlier, the Rotary motto, service above self, and that's definitely Julie. I can speak uniquely about her because I'm now on her board at the Senior Center. I have been for several years, and for 2 years, I was the board chair. So we worked along together on that. Julie has been an excellent CEO amid many challenges. Through Julie's leadership, we have a beautifully remodeled center for our seniors to enjoy. If you haven't been there, I would highly suggest you go see it. It's beautiful. When she took over as executive director, which is now she's the CEO, she immediately raised the visibility of the center in the community through her community involvement and networking activities. She upgraded technology, stabilized the finances through fundraisers and grant applications. The center enjoys the support of the city, and they obtained a grant to upgrade the facility. Julie welcomed the opportunity, but it wasn't easy being a project manager working in dusty conditions with an out-of-town construction company, which the grant required. During this long process, she had to make sure the members were safe, and there were times she had to make unpopular decisions to temporarily close the center. About the time the construction was over, COVID changed all of our worlds. Julie again took on the responsibility to make sure our seniors stayed safe, instituting recommended health protocols and closing as mandated. This, too, was not always popular among our seniors, but there was never a COVID outbreak among our members. We are now fully open in a beautiful facility with a membership that is growing monthly. With Julie's unique commercial real estate background and nonprofit management experience, I feel she will be the absolute best candidate to fill the alderman vacancy. Thank you for your time.
Cheryl, thank you. Next, we have Kimberly Overton, Creekside Court.
Thank you, Mayor. Kimberly Overton, 106 Creekside Court. Just wanted to speak briefly this evening in support of appointing Lori Phillips to fill a vacancy in the Ward 2 left by the sad passing of Alderman Campbell. I met Lori during early voting back in 2020 when we spent some time together at the polls. And one of the first things that struck me about Lori was her incredible love for the city of Hendersonville. In fact, I believe she was even wearing a shirt that alluded to that very sentiment. In speaking with her and getting to know her, I learned that she is very active in church, as well as being an involved parent and active board member of the PTAs at both Lakeside Elementary and Hawkins Middle School, where her children attend. I believe that her several years of management experience in the service industry, the fact that she is a successful business owner, as well as an active, civic-minded member of our community, uniquely qualifies her for this position. The importance of having board members who are well-versed in personnel management, economics, and who have an understanding of budgets cannot be overstated. Pairing these invaluable skills with Lori's servant heart would make her an incredible asset and diligent representative for her neighbors in Ward 2 and to the city of Hendersonville as a whole. I did want to also take a moment just to express my sincerest condolences to the family of Alderman Campbell and to each of you who have served alongside of him as a friend and colleague. Pat and I did not always agree on local political issues, but he was always very kind and respectful of me, and I always appreciated that. And no one, absolutely no one, could question his love or his commitment to the city of Hendersonville and those he served. He will be missed. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Kimberly, thank you. Chris Radigan, Sanders Ferry Road.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I wish this is not how I pictured being here tonight at this meeting, but we have big shoes to fill. Pat was a great guy. He worked real hard doing the best he could in representing all of us here in Ward 2. It's also great to talk to about barbecue recipes in case you were interested in that. Beer can chicken. Anyway, he also listened to us as well as explained very many solutions to any questions we had, and he helped take care of any issues any of his constituents had, no matter how oddball they may have been or not. He's going to be a very missed man. He was also my friend's, his mom's also my friend's neighbor, a great family. It's going to be a big loss for the city of Hendersonville and everyone that knew him. That brings us to tonight's meeting to find a successor. What we need is an alderman who has the support of the residents of the Walton Ferry Peninsula and will represent our peninsula and the interests of our peninsula. Lori Phillips, I think, with her almost 20 years as a resident here, owning her own business and everything that Kimberly had mentioned, she's still able to stay active in her church with all of the busy life-to-life things that she has going on. So I think she would be a great choice to, I don't want to say replace Pat, but I don't know how else to put that. She was on our side against overgrowth, apartments, rezones, and she doesn't support any kind of wanting to do that. She wants to try to preserve what we have on the Walton Ferry and Sanders Ferry Peninsula. So with that said, she wants to preserve what we have, as do we, and we support her to represent us as our alderman. Thank you very much.
Chris, thank you. David Mooney, Cherry Grove Drive.
Well, good evening. I'm David Mooney, 971 Cherry Grove Drive here in Hendersonville, and I'm here tonight to recommend that you elect Julie White as the new alderman for Ward 2. I am currently a board member of the Hendersonville Senior Center, and I was a board member when the position of executive director became vacant several years ago. We interviewed a large number of candidates for that position, and far and above, Julie White was the best candidate for that job and was selected by the board. Since her selection as the executive director, the senior center has thrived. The majority of funding for the center comes from the Greater Nashville Regional Council. They have stringent requirements for accounting for the use of their funds, and the center has passed every inspection with flying colors. Julie led the center through the past 2 years when COVID limited or stopped participation and reduced the funding sources for the center. She developed new fundraising events. During this time, she also oversaw the complete renovation of the center. ensuring that all works were completed to the highest standards. And the facility is just a marvelous-looking facility today. Julie White has been a lifelong resident of Hendersonville community and has contributed to the community in many ways. She was a member of the Hendersonville Morning Rotary, and she was recently instrumental in coordinating the fundraising efforts necessary for the first responders memorial that was recently installed at Memorial Park. She is active in many other Rotary efforts. She has also assisted VFW Post 9851 in conducting fundraising efforts for programs that support both the veterans and the community of Hendersonville. Julie will bring an open mind to the task before BOMA and assess each task on its merits and the benefits for the citizens of Hendersonville. I urge you to select Julie White as the next alderman for Ward 2. Thank you.
David, thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. Second and final reading of ordinance 2021-52. This is an ordinance appropriating funds for professional services to assist the city with the administration of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds established under the American Rescue Plan Act. And second and final reading of ordinance 2021-44, an ordinance rezoning 6.93 acres located west of Longview Drive and on the south side of Long Hollow Pike, Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee, as included in the approved Durham Farms Phase 4 Final Development Plan. I entertain a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Hayes. Second. And a second from Alderman Collins. Any discussion on these two items? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. They pass unanimously. Thank you. Now we have ordinance, under ordinance and resolutions, second and final reading of ordinance 2021-47. This is an ordinance rezoning 6.13 acres located to the west of Rockland Road and on the north side of West Main Street and approving the Near Water Place preliminary development plan to govern the development of that property. This is close to Waffle House. We have a motion from Alderman Brown, a second from Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Peterson. Oh, y'all moved, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to,
Hold on here. Now you're on, you're good.
yes, that was my ordinance, and I was going to move on that.
Okay, oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. And the developer is here if there's any questions.
Okay.
And I'd like to suspend the rules.
Without objection, we'll suspend the rules here from the developer and his team if anybody has some questions. Alderman Peters, if you don't have any questions, we're going to go to Alderman Waters.
No, I will have a question for the developer when he approaches the podium.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Hold on here.
Here
That's
I
not
am.
right. There we go. Alderman Waters, go ahead.
First, let me say, it's an honor to be sitting in this seat here. Pat and I were great friends, and he's really missed, even today. It is an honor to sit here. Since my colleague on my left has already mentioned the developer, I'd like to go ahead and ask him to come to the podium right now, if you don't mind, since it's already been approved.
Yep.
How you doing?
Doing fine.
Yeah, I can hear you down here. I couldn't hear you up yonder.
I'll try to lean in.
Let me say a few things. I voted on this project the first time, hoping it would give you time to come back to me with the answers that I asked. I think I've already received confirmation on one of the questions, and that was sale or rent. And I'm told through sources that you will be selling, not renting, 49 units. Is that correct?
Correct.
I didn't hear you.
Yes, sir. That is
Okay.
correct.
My second question is the traffic. Let me go ahead and blow off my steam, then you can respond, okay?
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I'm mainly concerned and confused how the residents will exit on Gallatin Road. I understand from talking to some of your colleagues, you're proposing a street or a driveway from the apartments coming down beside the Waffle House. Is that correct?
I don't know that that's exactly how it's
Lynn,
planned.
hold on one second. Jason, can you pull up something for us? That'd be helpful.
I'd be happy to point to it.
Yeah, this might be more
Is it
helpful
on the
than
screen?
answering questions. It's coming up in just a second here.
I'll have to move back to my regular seat. I can't see. What'd you say? As you can tell, we have fun up here.
So I'll be happy to talk about it if you want, or?
Yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
express, and then I've got some questions for you. Go ahead.
Sure. So what you're looking at there is the Waffle House building, the existing Waffle House building, right in the center of the screen, and the property is to the west or to the left on the screen, and that's where the development of the 49 units will be.
Okay,
But
excuse me,
as it-
I'm going to ask you questions as we
Sure.
go, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
To the right is the Exxon station, right?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So this is a little bit hard to see because on the screen because Google looks like they kind of overlay the roads here they're not entirely accurate. I don't guess there's any way to turn that off. But if you're looking at directly in front of the Waffle House, there's existing pavement there and an existing drive stubbed to the property. And the cursor's pointing at it now. That is the only access to the property. The property on the entire side to the west, I guess, is a restricted access, being that it's a state, it's a ramp for 386. So that is the only way in and out of the property that could be utilized. So what we've proposed to do is utilize that access, but when we connect to it, we are going to the existing drive as it fronts on Main Street. Appreciate whoever's operating this. At that existing drive, there is a raised median there. We've talked to the property owner and come to an agreement that we can rework that entrance so that we will have a dedicated lane into the property and 2 dedicated lanes leading out of the property so that cars can stack up better than they could today.
Lynn, I want to interrupt you real quick because I think something's a little bit sort of confusing.
Right.
Right now, we see a road up there that doesn't actually exist.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna point. Okay, that's it, Jason. Okay, so there's actually not pavement there.
Right, yeah, Google's got it wrong. I'm not sure why they have that on there, maybe just because there's some gravel there.
Let me interrupt you right quick before I forget it. You said you're going to come down?
Can I walk up there?
Come down your property.
Yeah, just don't talk while you're up there. That's the problem.
No, I'm,
Okay. There we go. Hold on here.
that's mine.
There we go. There we go. You're
Okay,
on.
so this right here does not exist today. That is not a road. And I'm not sure why it's shown on the map that way. It may just be because of the gravel that's been piled up
Okay,
there over time.
back up to leaving the apartments.
So leaving, if I were to come from the proposed development to exit and get to Main Street, I would simply drive down the newly proposed road that will be built right here, and it will continue on existing road to exit the property.
In front of the Waffle House.
Right. To come in just the same way, except where Waffle House only has one road today, there'll be 2 lanes, there'll be 3 lanes in its entirety. 1 to get in, 2 to come out so that cars can have independent lanes to turn left or right out, if that makes sense.
Can we hear that?
Okay.
Is that?
That's clear as mud, but go ahead. Come on back.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'll admit, let me just say this, I'll admit the property's had its challenges with access since Waffle House, since I've been alive, because I don't remember the Waffle House never being there. But it's what we've got to work with, and in light of existing allowable uses for the property versus what we're proposing, this is probably the least intense traffic impact that we could provide on the conditions that we have at hand.
Okay. Let's back up. I have no problem if I'm coming out from my apartment down to Gallatin Road. I have no problem with what you've said so far. But if I'm going west towards Nashville, I got it made, right? Just turn right and take off, right?
Right.
Turning left. Here's where I'm confused. If I'm going to turn left coming out of there, There's no light, no traffic light. The
Correct.
closest traffic light I measured was 40 to 50 yards up. That's where the Hickory Run Apartments and the Rockland Road intersection.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You with me? Okay. So if I want to go left, I come out there and I'm going to go left. Whether I go to the post office or go to everywhere, I've got to cross 2 lanes. I've got to cross 2 lanes of westbound traffic. Then I get in the turning lane. You follow me? Then I've got to move over to the right to get in the eastbound lane of traffic on Gallatin Road, which the speed limit is 45 miles.
Right.
Do you not see a problem with what I'm saying?
I will say that is the hardest traffic movement that you're talking about to get out of the property. Turning left across traffic is always the hardest traffic movement. It's no different than any other proposed
I beg your pardon.
development.
What do you mean it's no different?
That would be the same condition should we propose 200 units, 2,000 units, or 5 units.
I'm not concerned about the units, sir. Don't get me wrong. I'm just concerned about the traffic.
Right.
You got 49 units?
Right.
You're going to sell them?
Right.
You might have 2 or 3 cars coming out of each one of them at one time. That's my problem. I hope you understand how I'm feeling, because I live close by there.
I do.
I was down there an hour today just to be sure I was right before I came before the meeting tonight.
Right.
But what I've said is correct, right? If I'm going to go to the post office, go left, I've got that problem, right?
Right. You'd have the same problem at Hendersonville Tire. You'd have it at the boat dealership across the
I don't care
street.
about Hendersonville Tire, sir. Don't bring another unit in. We're talking about your place.
Right.
Why create something else? I hope you understand how I feel about that.
Well, the something else would be, as it stands today, a commercial use or a car lot. That's what it's approved for today.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, okay? I don't want to jump ahead. I feel it's a traffic disaster for the location. And for those reasons, those residents coming out there, they're going to have a problem. You got anything you want to add? Because I'm through right now with you.
We've got some other folks that probably want to ask you some questions.
Anybody else want to? I
the
don't
only-
want to talk to Keith.
Okay.
The only other thing I would add as far as traffic access is that if I had a desire, per se, to put in a traffic light, I would not be allowed to do it at this location. You
I
understand
agree.
that? The improvements, the existing conditions of the site are what they are for me to deal with as they stand. I don't have I'm too close to an existing traffic light. I have access easement to a traffic light, although it not be great. Should someone, say, have a hard time driving or whatever the reason may be, should they personally not like to turn left across traffic, they could drive over to the traffic light. So
Over to the traffic light?
Right.
Through Exxon?
Right. By right, there is easement to do that today. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but
You think that's legal?
yes. I'm certain of that.
So do you want to get Keith up here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Then if you could hang out, don't
Sure,
go too far,
yeah.
please. Keith, can you help us out? And Alderman Waters, go ahead with your other question.
Before I get to Keith, does anybody else want to talk to him? Because
He's going to stay nearby.
mine's a different
I
subject.
won't run away.
Okay.
Pardon? Mine's on a different subject with Keith,
Yes, sir.
if I can find it. Help me out here, Brother Keith. I'm reading your discussion here, your planning department's discussion. The developer is to make improvements to enhance the entrance in front of the Waffle House and provide $2,500 per unit to be used for nearby off-site improvements. Explain that to me.
Yeah, and I think this occurred at the last BOMA meeting, where the developer agreed to make those look into making those improvements in front of Waffle House where they're already using. That's the access for Waffle House and for the gas station. I think he shared that to add additional turn lanes and get rid of that median and make it better than it is right now. So that's something that the developer is committed to. And then also at the last meeting, he committed to provide $2,500 per unit for any nearby off-site improvements. And I think that was discussed last time. It wasn't really fully clarified, but I think generally what I understood was it would go toward something along West Main Street, probably to support an action goal we might have for our Main Street Old Town plan, to use that funds to do something that was identified in that. So, yes, sir.
Let me interrupt you here. You mentioned the last meeting, and I'm looking at the last meeting ordinance, Section 2. This is not on there. It's on there now, but Section 2 is always on there. This one, we got Section 1, 2, and 1 and 2.
Did we amend that, Keith?
That was added.
Not on there? Okay.
That was added at the last BOMA meeting.
Okay, so it's
Yes, sir.
added during the meeting as an amendment?
It wasn't at the planning commission. Those issues weren't.
It was added at our last meeting in December?
Yes, that's when those two specific items come up. And then tonight, I guess the issue since our last meeting was that the developer has committed that the units will be owner occupied instead of rental.
Okay, my bad.
Okay.
My bad.
Did you agree to the landscaping in front of Waffle House? One additional thing that the developer did agree to, I don't think that was noted there, was to work with the Waffle House and enhance their landscaping along that entryway as well to do that. It's undefined what that is or what that can be worked out, but the developer is agreeable to doing that.
So Keith, let's come back to that because we might have some other discussion. I feel like we might need to add an amendment, but we'll deal with that later.
Okay.
It might be multiple items on one amendment, but please
I'll yield
continue.
back. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Alderman Waters, if you want us to come back to you, we'd certainly be happy to. Let's go to whoever is sitting in Alderman Collins' seat. Looks like Alderman Robertson.
Thank you. I sure wish I had her hair. I've got a series. I want to lay out some evidence in this case, and what I'd like to do, I'd like for Ms. Locke, I would like for Mr. Ely's already here, and Keith. So I'm going to ask each of you just a couple of questions on this matter. First of all, Keith.
Yes. I get to go first.
What is this presently zoned for?
This is presently zoned for, the uses on this would be, I think it's office and new car dealership. And this is a planned development. It's kind of an old planned development, but it is a planned development.
So if the developer desired to put a used car lot, and I have no objections, that's a worthy profession, but we have several in this part of town. But if he decided to put a used car lot on this property, what authority would we have to alter or to prevent that?
Well, if he wanted to do, with the current zoning ordinance, if he wanted to do a used car lot, that is not defined by this particular planned development. It's actually a new car dealership, so it would have to be something that fits into that. Probably
Okay.
with the size of the property might be a little bit smaller new car dealership that
Okay.
would meet that definition.
But if he desired to put a car lot in there, we would have no authority to block that because it's already been pre-approved, I guess.
That's correct. It would just, I believe, would just have to get a site plan to do that at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Locke, you've done traffic studies, haven't you? As a city engineer or as the engineer, you've looked at traffic flow and
Yes.
And are you, as a professional engineer, are you concerned with the traffic flow here? I know it's not ideal, but I guess what we're looking at is a car lot or this development. And which would produce more traffic, in your opinion, a car lot here or this residential development?
Typically commercial, so the car lot would
Car
produce
lot
more
would
traffic.
produce more traffic going east or west. So you've worked with the developer. Are you confident that this can work, this ingress and egress method can work in this situation? While it's not
Yes.
ideal, but it can work?
Yes, it's not ideal, but it could work. And one of the things that we have talked about as well is when we go through the site plan process to try and identify some safety improvements, whether it be signage or just see what we can come up with to improve the safety of that access.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have with you. Mr. Ely, I want to give you an opportunity before I ask questions. Is there any general information that you would like to get us how this project has changed since the last time it came before this board?
Well, we've said a few things already. I'll just kind of reiterate. Well, let me first say, I appreciate everybody's willingness to talk to me and work with me on this because, we deferred from last month to make sure we had it right. I've spent a lot of time talking to many of you, talking to city staff, wanting to make sure. I know y'all had a lot of citizens, residents might have called and had their concerns. You had concerns of your own, and I appreciate everybody letting me field those and letting me work through them as best as I possibly could. So thank you. But secondly, since that time, I'm kind of proud, being that I live here, and I've had a little bit of a part in the recent approval of the Music City Studio project that's nearby. That was actually something that I can thank my father years ago for helping me sort of have a little role in making sure that came to fruition for us all, because I think it's exciting. But since that first reading where you voted to approve this, they've actually reached out to me and expressed how excited they are about what I've got proposed here. They say that this is exactly what they want to see for their future employees, executives particularly. So I want to mention that just to say that I think that what I'm doing is a good thing, and of course that's bias. Last thing is, I'll go ahead and just reiterate what we've already said, and that's that we will be platting these as individual lots, no longer a cohesive rental community. These will be individually sold lots like you would for any single-family house. They just happen to be large townhomes. So I'm glad we were able to get over that hump. That came, frankly, by the finances of the thing. It warrants it to be that way. And we've talked about the access. I hope I've addressed that as best I can. Again, we've tried to work with city staff, the city engineer, to make sure we've done all that we possibly could do under the circumstances that we have and what we've been given to deal with ingress egress for this property. So I appreciate the staff taking the time to sort that out with me. We've talked about the contribution that we're proud to give towards what we hope is a West Corridor beautification type program, perhaps just a traffic improvement program, but whatever it may be, we're proud to give what totals at $122,500 from this project to make contributions towards the greater good of the area. And I'll say one more thing, that it came up last meeting, and I don't know if anybody really has a concern for it or not, but I was asked to reach out to the tax assessor to ask them how that might impact the community wide, and this equates to about $165,000 a year in additional taxes for the city. So I wanted to be sure I addressed that. I can't remember who exactly asked that question, but that's all I have as far as my own input. I'm happy to answer any more questions you might have.
Yeah, just quickly, you've not asked for any variances of any ordinances or regulations that we have, correct?
No,
like
sir.
Brick or parking space. You're in complete compliance with the city codes on that.
Yes, sir.
And what's the price point for these properties?
I was afraid somebody was going to ask me that.
Well, you don't have to.
Going up every day.
Yeah,
you don't have
to
obligation to answer questions.
You don't have
It
to.
won't be the same. What I tell you today, it won't be the same in 6 months. I can tell you that much. We hope to be around $400,000, and really we are afraid that we'll be more than that. And that, I say afraid because that's a real fear for us. We want to be affordable, but everybody knows what's happening with housing prices. So we think we'll be around there.
And it's a gated community. It's going to be a gated neighborhood.
It's a
and
gated
it's
neighborhood.
owner-occupied.
It's important to mention that even though we've changed to for sale product, that we still will have an HOA for this community. It will be a fully managed and maintained property still in that regard, meaning that no individual is going to be responsible for planting their own flowers out front or anything. This will have a very cohesive look throughout the development, meaning the mowing crew comes in and mows all 49 units at once. They trim all the shrubs at once. They plant all the flowers at once. They keep the sign clean, like you want to see on a well-planned neighborhood. So I'm glad you asked that. It's worth saying.
That's all the questions. I just want to make a statement. All of us, I think, have been anxious to see the West Main, the Old Town section of the city, have a renaissance. And when I think of what's happening in this part of the city, and I think the aldermen in this area have recognized that. It's why I believe they're supporting this project, is I see a trifecta. Trifecta is when three things happen that produces a winner. And to me, the trifecta in this area, first of all, is anchored by the real fact that the Music Center, Music City Studios is coming, and it's going to provide the jobs, a lot of jobs in this end of town. The second thing is we've seen a revival, so to speak, happen at Mott Haven. We see that Mott Haven is energized and that they're going to add more facilities there. So we have the opportunity for culture, so jobs and culture. So I think this project provides the third leg of that trifecta, which is very nice townhomes that people can buy. It's going to produce another neighborhood in Ward 3. And finally, on projects like this, I really look to the aldermen in this area to see if they have objections. It's a term that I've played with, and I kind of call it reciprocal consistency. And so I look to the aldermen, and I believe since they're supporting this, that I think it is the best thing for the city. I respect the Planning Commission and their review of this, and even though it was a close vote, it was approved. But I've looked at this from every side, and I think that it can be an integral part of the Old Town redevelopment. And so for that reason, I support this project. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I may have a question or two for Lynn, so stand by.
Okay.
I have a few comments to make. Number one, and I think I speak for most people in Ward 3, because all of Main Street will become Ward 3 come the new redistricting. Ward 3 Main Street has their fill of car lots. Make myself clear. We've had our fill. That's where 90% of the car lots in Hendersonville are located. So this will be a welcome change. We don't live in a perfect world, and I understand the concerns about the traffic situation. But no plan is perfect. And I think that this would be a wonderful addition to Ward 3 and the initiative on the Main Street area of our western part of Hendersonville is going through right now to beautify it. And and I would rather have a small, high-end community located there than a car lot in Ward 3. I fully support this, and I encourage my fellow aldermen to support it, because, like I said, we don't live in a perfect world, so nothing is perfect. I understand the concerns about the traffic situation. It's not traffic, it's just the turning left there on that. But if you're that afraid to turn, make that left-hand turn, just go through that Exxon station and go to the light, and you're safe. So this will be a great addition. I encourage my fellow aldermen to support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, do you have a question?
I don't have a question.
Okay, sorry about
My
that.
concern at the beginning was about the rentals. When I said, and I made that very clear in the beginning, I wanted to push it forward to the second reading, but you've cleared that rental issue up. The HOA deal is a really good thing. And right down the street, Mont Haven Apartments has the same challenge to make that left there too. So, I mean, like I said, we don't live in a perfect world, but I fully support this project. And I encourage my fellow aldermen on the board to do so too. Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Hayes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Ely, remind me what landscaping you're going to do along the on-ramp and off-ramp for 386 between that and your property?
So there is a landscape plan in the set of plans that came through. Since this is a master development plan, we'll be obligated to put every little circle that represents a tree and every little circle that represents a shrub, we'll be obligated to put those in. So it's less concept than it is real. But if you look at the plan, there'll be a row of what we call street trees. It's just evenly spaced trees that follow sort of around the ramp. Between that, there'll be shrubs that follow between the trees. And the idea is that we provide screening not only for our residents, but
Yes.
sort of a beautification for the view of the community from the exterior. We want to sell these for the highest price we can,
Sure.
and landscaping goes a long way. Then Keith mentioned that we've also discussed about extending that landscaping across the frontage of the Waffle House property, just to try to more or less beautify our front door the way we see it. So that's now in the plan as well. And then, of course, on the fronts of the units, they have their own little landscaping that we call foundation planting. Those will be planted along the units themselves.
I think it would be money well spent on your part, and those are exactly the same things you described in the first reading, and I really appreciate it. Since the first reading, I have changed my mind. I voted against this the first time, and I've done a little more homework, and I see neighborhoods that you've built in and around Ward 5, and they're awesome. They're very nice. And then I've had an opportunity to have conversations with you. I like that you are local. I believe that you are a fine developer. And so that has a lot to do with the reason I've changed my mind. I appreciate you, and I'm believing this is the right thing, and I especially appreciate those aldermen in Ward 3 who are also for this. So thank you, and I'm a yes vote now.
Alderman Hayes, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think most of my questions have been answered by very good questions from up here. One last thing I have is your HOA restrictions. Is there any language or restrictions on owners purchasing the units for lease?
So the short answer is no. We've been told, and I think I brought this up at the first reading because I'm having to bring it up. Seems like everywhere I go and everything I do when it comes to residential development these days. But we're finding that the equal housing opportunity laws are not allowing us to do that anymore.
Okay.
And that's really the gist of it. But we can certainly self-police, and that is our full intention. So we will be selling these in a manner that will essentially prevent that. We have issues around town. In fact, I've been involved in trying to finish out development of neighborhoods like Mansker Farms, where we've seen that sort of run rampant. And unfortunately, we can only do so much, but we fully intend to do everything we can do to prevent it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Dixon, I'm sorry. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ely, I appreciate you coming before the Planning Commission and BOMA and working with us on this development. I'm not only the sponsor of this ordinance, but I also approve the project going forward. I think it'd be a welcome addition coming into town and seeing a development such as yours, instead of maybe a mixed use or you know, what other, there could be other alternatives on your property. I do want to ask, you had a site survey done on the property. What was the outcome of that?
Specific, we've had a few different surveys. Are you?
Was there any surprises, or do you have to do an archaeological study, or is there any problems with the property?
We have done all the various studies we do anytime we buy a piece of property. We've seen no surprises.
Okay.
And you can, it's, the beauty of technology is you can almost use Google Earth and keep clicking backwards and see it's been this way for quite a long time. So it gives us some assurance just by doing that.
All right, well, I appreciate that. And Mayor, I have a question for Keith Free.
Let's do it.
Director Free, has the developer agreed with all staff comments?
Yes, they have.
Okay, and that's also, you can speak for all the departments of the city, police, fire, public works?
Yes, all of our review departments, which are Public Works, Fire, and Planning.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Peterson, thank you. Alderman Edwards.
Yeah, briefly, Mr. Healy, I do trust what you say about the improvement of landscaping. I know you and your father have been in Hendersonville for a number of years, but I would like to see some more definitive language in this ordinance regarding improvement of landscaping in front of Waffle House. Because Section 2 does say that you will enhance the entrance, but I would like to make a motion to amend Section 2 right after Waffle House, once everybody gets there. After Waffle House, include the language, comma, including, comma, but not limited to, comma, improvement of landscaping, comma. So I would make that motion.
I'll second
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Keith, do you feel comfortable with that direction, or does it need to be more specific?
No, well, I'm an attorney.
Do you want to stop there and go ahead and vote on that?
Yes.
Or have a discussion on that item?
Yeah, let's have a discussion and
Okay.
vote on that, and I have another comment after
Okay.
that.
Does anybody need an explanation of what the proposed amendment is? Okay. Does anybody have a discussion on the proposed amendment? Okay. All those in favor of the proposed amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Edwards, back to you.
Okay, I could try, but I don't think I could improve on what Alderman Robertson and Alderman Cunningham said about this. So I am completely for this. I think this is a good improvement to Ward 3 and the city as a whole. So I will be voting for this. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Edwards, thank you. Keith, can you help me out on a couple things? And Lynn, you might have to stay close by too. So he mentioned there will be an HOA. That's something different than what was voted on the first reading. Do we need language in this to have to require an HOA?
It actually, yeah, there will be an HOA when they do the subdivision plat. So when they do the plat, that's when we'll be requesting for the covenants and restrictions.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll have to do that anyway.
Do we need to do that before we pass this to
No.
lock him into that?
No, I think the only thing, if the homeowner occupied status or intention of that is just to make sure that's included in the approval and just noted that will be placed on the final development plan.
Okay.
Just so there's a note to that effect.
It sounds like we need to add that language into the ordinance with an amendment at this point?
So moved.
Yeah. Yeah, you could, yes.
Okay, so help me with, so I appreciate that, Alderman Petrelli. Help me with the language of what that should be.
Yeah, did you already pass the?
Yeah, we took care of
the
Alderman Edwards
landscaping?
on the landscaping.
Yeah, just to include notes to the final development plan, that the units will be homeowner occupied, and that probably also notes to the effect of the $2,500 per unit.
Okay.
And I think has already been in there? That's already been in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, but so you bring up a good question, is that do we need to designate how that money will be used?
No, I think right now it's just generally understood that goes toward identified improvements somewhere within Main Street that would benefit the near area. I think that's probably, unless you want to be more specific at this time.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to propose, and Alderman Petrelli, let me know if you still agree with this, that on section 1, so page 27, there's 2 paragraphs, and at the end of the second paragraph, we will have units will be owner occupied. Then at the end of section 2, we will, after improvements, we will have near Main Street. And then the period will come after that. Are you following us, Keith?
Yeah.
You don't seem confident in that.
Maybe near West Main Street.
Near West Main Street, okay.
That might be better
Okay.
definition.
Okay. Yeah. Alderman Petrelli, can you second? Are you okay, comfortable seconding that? Sure. Okay. So we've got a motion and a second to amend this, and that is that we are going to put in writing what he's already agreed to, that the units will be owner occupied, and that we are going to designate that the off-site improvements be near West Main Street. Okay. So I have Alderman Petrelli wanting to speak in a second. I had Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Petrelli, do you want to speak on this item?
Sure. Well, what comes to mind immediately is
Here, pull that down a little bit for us. Thank you.
what comes to mind immediately, which is basically right across the street from the property, is the Welcome to Hendersonville sign. I mean, it's really does not even meet the standards of the city. It's barely noticeable and it's tough to maintain. I mean, it's right across the street. I mean, if you're going to, I hate to use the term earmark, but it would be nice to see that jazzed up. But I know some folks have referred to it up here as an HOA, but that was going to be what my question was a covenants. So that will be.
Covenants and restrictions, that will be required.
I do have a question about that also. So anything else on this amendment? Okay. Alderman Cunningham, anything on this amendment?
No, I just.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion or questions on this proposed amendment? All those in favor of this amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now, help me out, Keith. When the language about the HOA is added on the process of the site plan, at what point do the residents take over from the developer? Lately, it's been 100%. I would like to see it lower than that. Is that something that we can initiate here?
I don't know. I mean, it would, we require that they have to have covenants and restrictions. And so we're going to make sure that we have those, and we'll make sure that those covenants and restrictions are reflective of what's been approved for the final development plan. But I don't know detailing it unless the developer is offering a certain percentage. I don't know. I don't know that we could necessarily require a specific percentage. But
So what I'm looking at is that the developer in some of our newer subdivisions retains a majority of the ownership of the HOA board until 100% of the units are sold. Yeah, why don't you? We're having problems in some of those subdivisions because there are 2 units of 300 that have not been sold. I would like to see less than 100%. Can you help me out, Lynn?
So, yeah, I can.
Okay.
I can't tell you personally why anyone would want to hold on to it.
Okay.
Because the trouble with us passing over it's declarant rights is what you're talking about. The trouble with us passing over declarant rights any earlier than selling all the units is that we would be passing over the responsibilities as well. That being putting the final pavement topping down on streets, making sure, the warranty periods of lighting works and so on and so forth. So it wouldn't be reasonable for us to obligate 49 homeowners to take on that debt and that responsibility any sooner than we have cleared for them. And frankly, if we were to ever try, any HOA would probably sue us for passing off that responsibility too early. But I can't tell you there's never been a situation that I have been in the 18 or so communities that we've developed where I don't want to get rid of it any quicker, than I can, because it serves us no good.
Okay. So you're saying that the bylaws you're going to write are going to maintain a majority of the HOA board members until you sell the last lot?
We'll have to.
Okay. So I disagree on that, and we've had some problems. I think that it should be somewhere around 75%. However, I don't think the majority of the board is going to agree with me. So I would like to see that, and any developer who comes to us, I am going to continue to ask that, because
there may be a tricky way to do it. I think any good attorney is going to tell you that you can't reasonably put that ownership on 47 homeowners.
Oh, we'll bond you to do it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does, it becomes tricky when we do it too early, is the gist of it.
Okay. You would still, if you have 2 lots left, you would still have 2 votes on the HOA. Among that, if you have 10 lots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There may be a fine way to do it, a tricky way to do it. We just haven't ever had the need, frankly.
When you come for site plan, I'm going to ask you same questions.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Give me something to work on.
Okay, okay. Any other, Alderman Cunningham, I think I cut you off. Alderman Petrelli? Okay, okay. We have nobody else wishing to speak. We have a couple amendments that have passed on this. One came from Alderman Edwards on the landscaping by Waffle House, and the other amendment came from myself and Alderman Petrelli, and that was about the off-site improvements being dedicated near West Main Street, as well as the first one, that was that the units will be owner-occupied, something that was brought up by the applicant. Any other discussion on this? Okay, we're going to call a roll. We can't do it electronically. All those in favor, please signify. I'm sorry, Alderman Peterson.
Can you repeat that amendment, please?
Okay, so the first one was that the money that's going to be spent for landscaping is going to be spent for landscaping at Waffle House. That was from Alderman Edwards. And then the second one had 2 parts. The first part is that the units are going to be owner-occupied. And then the second part is that the money that the developer is providing for off-site improvements, that be limited to work near West Main Street. Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor, if we please signify by saying aye. When Annette calls your name, those opposed, please say no.
Brown? Collins? Cunningham?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Edwards? Hayes?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Petrelli? Robertson? And Waters?
Yes.
Clary?
No.
Is Martin?
Mark,
Yeah,
okay, so
all right. So, let's see, out of 11.
passes with majority vote. Jason, were you able to hear all that? Okay, otherwise I'm happy to repeat that. So that passes with majority vote. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Keith. And thank you, Sarah, for your help. Next, we have Resolution 2020. I'm sorry? Alderman Waters.
I'm down here. I'm not up yonder. No, let me address something to Scotty. In reading your requirements and everything, are you satisfied with everything that's here?
Yes, sir, as Keith said.
Okay.
About the gates?
So Alderman Waters, we've had a vote. So if we want to bring him back up in Public Safety Committee, we could ask him about this then.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that then.
Okay.
Okay, appreciate that. Next, we have Resolution 2021-57. This is a resolution to approve the Mayfair Phase 2 Final Development Plan and to add restaurant, quick service to the list of permitted uses. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Waters. All those in favor of Resolution 2021 I'm sorry, Alderman Robertson.
I think she buzzed first.
I don't know who did. Alderman Collins.
Okay, well, I have some questions about, okay, I'm sorry about that. Some of my fellow aldermen are hard of hearing slightly. I have some questions about how do we intend to use the Bradford Berry House? What is it going to cost us? Do we have any ideas on that?
Who's that for?
Whoever can answer it.
It will be, what we would do is we would ask those questions of the Capital Projects Committee, and then they would come to us with a recommendation.
Okay. And I do have one question that is pretty sure for Keith, which is, when we take ownership of the Bradford Berry House, does it then lose its historic zoning because it's a government building?
No, the historic overlay, we would still have to abide by that, just like any other private citizen that would own the property.
Okay. Thank you, that's
Thank you.
all.
Okay, thank you.
I have some concerns about it, the cost that could be associated with taking ownership of the Bradford Berry House. I would just want to caution that we don't spend money. I would not support spending money to restore the home if it meant cutting public safety through police or fire, if it meant cutting supplemental paving, cutting capital projects, or reducing the progress that we're making with our general fund. So I'm cautious, but I do think that overall the city taking ownership of the home is more rewarding than what the risks are for us. But I just wanted to warn that this could be a huge money pit for us, and we don't have a clear idea of what we're going to do with it, what purpose it should serve in the end, how we would go about doing any of that. But okay, let's do it.
Anything else, Alderman Collins?
No.
Thank you. Alderman Robertson.
So, Mayor, thank you for sending us a couple of reports. First was the report from the structural engineer, and it was a pretty good report. It's not as bad as you would think what a 200-year-old house would be. But the second report you gave, I think that's the historical, it did give a number.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. I told you it didn't, and I missed that.
Yeah, on page 16, the
Okay.
last sentence, or the next to the last sentence, if I may read it.
Feel free.
Once a direction can be determined for the building use, an opinion of probable cost can be established. Until that time, the city should expect that the renovation costs could be approximately $1.5 million. This does not include utilization to the house from the street. So we do have an estimate. So I'm with Alderman Collins. I'm all for remembering the past and, you know, and keeping that history rich in our city, but $1.5 million. So I guess I'm at a quandary what to do, because I don't think that we have that kind of money to spend to renovate the house. I know they're giving us $100,000. So I guess I'd like some discussion on the probability of us having to spend like a money pit, $1.5 million.
So Keith and I have talked about a couple things, and one is that what makes probably more sense is that we take care of the outside first, and basically make it look good. And then, obviously, at some point, we're going to want to figure out what uses there are, and possibly just go out for proposals, is what somebody could do with it, and what they would pay the city for it, and how much they would spend on it. I'm open to all of those, but Keith and I feel very confident that we don't need to move forward with spending any money at this point, that's for sure. But sort of decide what to do, and possibly in phases. In the first phase, if we just make it look nicer on the outside.
And that $100,000 that they're giving us would be sufficient for that. For that purpose, it would not be.
I don't think we would, I doubt it, but we don't know what that price tag is.
At some point, this board's going to have to make decisions.
I know.
Whether we bulldoze it.
Yeah. So by approving this, we're not allocating any money for it. That will go through the budget process and through that committee process.
We could even apply to the Historic Zoning Commission to tear down the house.
Yeah.
That would still be within our rights to do that.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'm okay with moving forward, because I do like the development plan now that they've taken a self-storage out of the equation. I'm good with that, but I'm not committing to spending a lot of money on restoring the house. So thank you.
Okay, appreciate that, Alderman Cunningham. Let me see, Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with my two fellow aldermen, Alderman Collins and Robertson. We don't know what we're in for as far as the cost. You know, I'm always with the finances, and I'm almost tempted to defer this 2 weeks until we can get a better handle on that. But if we're not obligated to do anything but spend that 100,000, I'm okay with moving it forward. So I know there was concerns about a cemetery there, and my other question, which I think was answered already, that we can do improvements incrementally so that we are not on the hook for $1.5 million. I mean, that would not make sense in the environment that we are in right now with our finances and trying to improve our roads and improve our infrastructure. We have capital projects that have been laying around for, I'm going to say decades. One of them is decades old, which is the Alton Ferry realignment there. So if we're not on the hook to spend any more than $100,000, which I want to be written into the resolution, if I could make an amendment to do that, until we have further discussion and investigation about what we need to do next. So I'm going to make that resolution. I mean the amendment to the resolution.
So help me out with some wording. So let's look on, let's see.
Page 60.
Okay. Where does it, Keith, where do we have the obligation for $100,000 coming to the city?
It doesn't look like it's even in the
Yeah,
resolution.
it's not in that.
Okay.
Well,
I
then
think
we
it's
need-
in the, and there's a representative from the developer here. I think that's in the, that's in the final development plan.
I'd
think
like to
the-
see that as part of the
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple, 100,000 is going to be, just like the previous project that we just had, it was $2,500 per unit. 100,000 would be part of the deal to move this forward as a permitted use. And we would not be obligated to spend any more than that until further discussion and investigation has been done by professionals on that building.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, is at the end of the now therefore paragraph, we add the developer will donate $100,000 to the city to be spent on the Bradford Berry House, and leave it at that. Is that that doesn't obligate us to anything, does it? No. Okay.
Okay.
Or to be utilized as the city determines best, which could be on the house, or depending on other options, could
Yeah.
be some other
Because
alternative.
I do not want us to be on the hook and say, well, you know, we really needed to do this. We found termites, we found rot, we found mold, we found this.
Okay, Alderman Cunningham, how do you feel about this? The developer will donate $100,000 to the city to be used as the city determines.
Well, it has to be used on that, you know, on that facility. I mean, he doesn't want us to just use it.
That's probably not,
I think that was the intent.
okay?
When I was at the planning commission, I think that was the intent for it to be used.
I think, and the developer's representative is here, but I think from the developer's perspective, they're just willing to give the 100,000 with no conditions.
Oh, okay.
And give the house and the cemetery.
That's even better.
With no conditions. It's
Okay.
just giving it to the city.
That's good.
So
I'm
Alderman,
even better with that.
so Alderman Cunningham, do you want a second? I'll propose this amendment. The developer will donate $100,000 to the city to be used as the city determines.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so let's have discussion on that. I know we have a couple people with their lights here. Any discussion on that item? I feel like we probably already have had discussion on that. Let's go to Alderman Collins.
I think that the planning commission discussion said about building a substantial fence around the home and maybe the cemetery area as well. And I want to make sure that happens, because I think once this land is developed, we don't want people driving past that house and getting curious and just walking in. They will get hurt. But it's not in a good place.
Is that already in the plan, Keith?
Yeah, that is what
Are they building?
no, that's what the $100,000 was to go toward
Okay.
putting a
Yes.
fence
Okay.
around.
The developer's not building the fence, it's on
No.
us.
Right.
And the fence was around the cemetery, which there'll be a road between the cemetery and the house.
Okay.
So they're not all in one parcel, it's two parcels. But there
Alderman Collins?
wouldn't be a fence at this point
Okay.
around the house unless the city determines that it would want to do that, which very well could happen.
Well, Keith, in your opinion, with your knowledge of this site plan, do you think it's necessary to discourage foot traffic? I walked over there
Yeah.
to get a closer look, and there were drinks that still had fluid in them.
Yeah.
People have been hanging out. I don't want people hanging out. It's clearly not safe structurally for people to be just putzing around over there.
And that may be something as a part of securing the property that we would want to do once we take ownership. And going back just kind of on the history of this, so what this was years ago when they were doing the development plan, the city didn't want the house torn down. So as a part of the whole deal on the original development plan was that the city gets the property. And that was kind of worked out then. So then now we have new owners that are purchasing all the property and then wanting to add the quick service restaurants. And then now these new owners that are getting the property, they're just trying to abide by what the development plan was, which was, we got to give this to the city. So then what we're looking at is, okay, we said years ago we wanted it, now it's developing, and the developer is saying, here you go. But, we're at a point right now, as the mayor had said, we don't have a particular plan, but there are a lot of different options that can be done, and the fence and different things like that. That'd be part of, once the city would take the property, would need to determine what they wanted to do with it, in addition to how to secure that with the fence as well. If that kind of helps that whole picture of this whole thing. This isn't anything where the developer is pushing this property on us. This is something we have required the developer, not like this year, but in previous, years ago on the original development plan to do.
Alderman Collins, anything else?
I'm satisfied with that. We will make it safe enough.
Thank you. Alderman Peterson, Alderman Petrelli, I've got you in the queue here. Did you want to speak on the proposed amendment? Okay. So here's what the amendment is, that at the very end of the now therefore paragraph, we add the developer will donate $100,000 to the city to be used as the city determines. Any other discussion on that? Okay, go ahead, Alderman Peterson.
Thank you. Yes, I will speak to the amendment, and I think this is a great opportunity for the city, and I appreciate the developer giving the Bradford Berry House to us. I think we've wanted it for a long time. Do we want to spend $1.5 million? I don't think so. However, I appreciate the $100,000. And may I ask for the developer to come to the podium?
Sure.
'Cause
Without
I
objection.
have questions.
So without objection, we're going to hear from representatives of the property owner, the developer, and that team. So just make sure to introduce yourself, guys. So go ahead, Lee.
And I'll make it quick. Thank you. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, hold on one second. Do we want to vote on this amendment first, or your questions on
I'm going to just, I'm going to ask one question.
Okay.
And I appreciate the $100,000 donation. And I know in planning, we had asked for more. Is that a possibility to add any amount to $100,000? Because and that was one of the questions that we didn't have answered, how much it would cost to just mothball this house to keep it safe until we can figure out what to do with it down the road. But I don't know what the total cost is. I was just going to ask if y'all wanted to add any more to it.
I'm Jeff Cundiff with Barge Design Solutions, and you've got Aaron Breland here with Old Acre McDonald. We did do the structural analysis. Personally walked through the whole house myself too. I think all of us that have gone through have been pleasantly surprised. And my understanding from talking to our client is that they feel like the offer that they've given based upon the structural analysis should go a long way towards securing the house and potentially building a fence or whatever you guys may, desire to do with that property. But, I'll have to defer to them if there's anything in addition to that.
Aaron Bertrand here on behalf of the developer. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm not authorized to increase the donation of $100,000. So that's where we're at right now. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Any other comments on the proposed amendment? So we'll call roll on this. We can't do it electronically. And the amendment is that we're going to add a sentence. The developer will donate $100,000 to the city to be used as the city determines. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye when Annette calls your name. All those opposed, please say no.
Brown. Collins. Aye. Cunningham. Aye. Dixon. Aye. Edwards. Aye. Hayes.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Petrelli.
Aye.
Robertson. Yes. Waters. Aye. Clary.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Thank you all. Now we're on to Alderman Petrelli on the main motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Having a background in architecture, I know I sound like a broken record when I open up with that, but I've worked on many historic properties. They are unique. They are very expensive to renovate. They're very expensive to maintain. With that being said, this is a jewel in our city that has been batted around for decades at this point. This is an opportunity that I feel cannot be overlooked. It will undoubtedly be expensive. I walked the property, I forget when we located those new graves, in 2017, January, and the assessment that came out is still similar. There's obviously a lot of cosmetics, but, you know, we have to really be forward-looking. It's going to be expensive, but this is something that we need to preserve in our city. It's a very unique situation, and hopefully over the course of the next 2 years, we can come up with a plan for the renovation. But as we know, with any building project, the prices only go up the more the years go on. That's just the reality of construction. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on this and the concessions that you've made. We appreciate what you've offered. I would take back to your folks that if in the future, if there's an opportunity for partnerships as the city goes along and as you're developing, that you consider that. We've done that just recently with a different business, but any opportunity for just helping along would be greatly appreciated by the city. Thank you.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you. Anybody else want to participate in the discussion on this item? We'll go back on the main motion, and again, this is Resolution 2021-57. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye when Annette calls your name. Those opposed, please say no.
Brown.
Aye.
Collins. Aye. Cunningham. Aye. Dixon. Aye. Edwards. Aye. Hayes.
Yes.
Peterson.
Aye.
Petrelli. Aye. Robertson.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Clary.
Aye.
Unanimous.
That passes unanimously. I'm going to entertain a motion to take a 3-minute break. Alderman Dixon, and a second from Alderman Hayes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. You know it's going to be 5. You know it's going to be 5. Appreciate that. Welcome back. We took a few-minute break there, and now we're up to first reading of Ordinance 2021-53. This is an ordinance establishing a committee and adopting procedures and criteria for the naming of municipal structures. Alderman Robertson.
Move approval.
Alderman Robertson, motion. A second from Alderman Edwards. Any discussion? We'll come back to you, Alderman Edwards. Go ahead.
Okay, you ready?
I am.
Okay, the facility naming committee comprised of some citizens as well as Mayor Clary and me, and we met 7 times and for approximately 1 hour each time. And the following citizens are that were part of this committee were Vanessa Silkwood, who is here tonight, Jeremiah Bennett, David Pigna, Janice Gray, and Nancy Corley. And I would like to thank all of those citizens for the dedication of time they put into this. I know Ms. Silkwood, with her, did a lot of research on other cities, other counties, even universities, and coming up with this language of this facility naming committee. We put a lot of work into this, and I hope this passes. And if there's any questions as to the details of this, I'm sure Mayor Clary would be happy to answer all those questions. That's all I have. Thank you.
Alderman Edwards, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a very, very good ordinance. I read it in detail. I think it's excellent. I don't think there's any stone unturned. I do have one question, and I just want somebody to walk me through item G, which is the very last unit on page 83. Tell me what the spirit and intent of item G is.
So, Russ, help me out here. So I think this was...
It's the renaming of an existing facility or property is strongly discouraged and shall only be undertaken in extraordinary circumstances. Does that mean facilities that have gone through this naming processes or any legacy facilities?
I think it's both, isn't it, Russ?
I think the intent of this was to discourage continuing to rename facilities.
Okay.
I mean, it's not impossible to do, but that's my understanding of the legislative intent of this.
Yes. Then
like if it already has a name,
right,
to
right,
yeah, keep the name as it is, so we're not constantly renaming.
Thank you so much. Yes. That's the only question I had, and that gets to the spirit of and intent of what you meant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2021-53, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on Resolution 2021-52. This is a resolution to annex certain territory upon written consent of the owners and to incorporate the property located west of Longview Drive and on the south side of Long Hollow Pike in Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee, as included in the approved Durham Farms Phase 4 Final Development Plan. Alderman Peterson.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, second from Alderman Waters. Any discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-52, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on other agenda items. We've got a vote on the appointment of Mike Wessel to the Historic Zoning Commission. We haven't done these in so long. We don't actually need a motion on that, do we? No. Okay, I think so. So all those in favor of Mike Wessel serving on the Historic Zoning Commission, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. All those in favor of appointing Rose Bleach to the Beer Board, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. So next, Jason, can you pull up the slide for us? So next what we have is an election, but I'm going to ask you all to bear with me for just a second. We have a member of our board that can't be here tonight. I want to read you a text I got from Alderman Skidmore. This is just before the meeting started. I'm real sorry, but I just found out that I have possibly been exposed to COVID. He's very upset about this, and he said he cannot be there for tonight's meeting. Is there a way to postpone the vote? I think this is a reasonable request, especially since some of y'all may not know this, that Mark has a very underlying heart condition. He also cares for his mother. He cares for his sister. So he is prioritizing what he needs to prioritize, in my opinion. We have somebody else here who is here, and we made some accommodations for that alderman. I'd like for us to make an accommodation for this alderman, and I feel like we should put this off until we can have all our members here. So I'm going to make that motion that we defer until we can have all our members here, the election of a Ward 2 alderman. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Dixon. So any discussion on that? Alderman Peterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wish we had discussed this at the beginning of the meeting. I feel it's a disservice for the two candidates that have sat here for almost 2 hours. And, or is it 3 hours? 2 hours. And anyway, I'm sorry. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Anybody else? So I also would hate to have an alderman serve under these circumstances. I feel like the best situation would be to have an alderman that has gone through the process, that has gone through the election process, when everybody who could participate had the opportunity to participate. Obviously, I hate that we have that we're missing somebody, but probably doing the best thing for himself and probably the best thing for us. So all those in favor of deferring this until we can have the full board here, please signify by saying aye when Annette calls your name. Those opposed, please say no.
Brown?
No.
Collins?
No.
Cunningham?
No.
Dixon?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Hayes?
No.
Peterson?
Yes.
Petrelli?
No.
Robertson?
Yes.
Waters?
Yes.
Clary?
Yes.
6-5.
Okay. So that passes 6-5. Next item on our agenda is the appointment of Jason Gallo to the Director of Administrative Services. We have him available on Zoom. Is that correct, Jesse, or by phone if we need to? But I'll entertain a motion at this point to appoint Jason as our Director of Administrative Services. Is there any discussion on that or any questions for our Chief of Operations? All those in favor of appointing Jason Gallo as the Director of Administrative Services, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to brief committee reports. General Committee, Chairman Brown, excuse me.
Let me get back here. I'm coming. All right, we approved minutes from December 14th, 2021. We passed ordinance 2022-01 and ordinance rezoning 6.10 acres on the east side of Jenkins Court, north of Saunderville Road. Resolution 2022-01 to hold a public hearing on proposed plan of services for that property. And Resolution 2022-03, a resolution discontinuing application to the Community Development Block Grant Program until the city resolves and make the future application. That was it.
Chairman Brown, appreciate that. Next, we have Chairman Petrelli, Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. So we approved 3 ordinances, ordinance number 2022-02, and ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 and accepting a State of Tennessee Department of Transportation highway grant in the amount of $33,453.20, which will benefit the Hendersonville Police Department. Ordinance 2022-03, an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 7, Chapter 6 regarding explosives. We're just amending our ordinance to be in compliance with the state. And then Resolution 2022-04, a resolution to apply for a SAFER grant for new firefighters for Station 7. This one is time sensitive as the grant deadline is February 3rd. So as the mayor stated earlier, if for some reason we have a weather event, we'll have a special called meeting. And then we had a discussion about code red and tornado sirens. Chief gave a great presentation earlier, it would be nice if our IT department, I know we play the meetings on TV, but if they could clip just that out so that we can share that on social media, I think that would be really beneficial to our citizens. And also, for the citizenry out there, please sign up for Code Red. Thank you, Mayor.
I think it's an excellent recommendation, and we'll get to, Jason's already shaking his head, yes. Thank you for that report, Chairman Petrelli. Alderman Peterson, Planning Commission. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
Yeah, I defer my time to Director Free. Thank you.
I'm gonna make this very, very fast. We, at the Tuesday, January the 4th, Planning Commission meeting, met and approved the Freehill Business Park final plat. That's with Music City Studios. And then also approved the site plan for Music City Studios. So all of that's been approved. Also approved a resolution for Forest Park Plan of Services annexation, as well as a change to the character area for future land use for Forest Park, and a comprehensive development plan. This is just a small portion of like 6.1 acres that they had purchased when they had acquired property to put the sewers through. And so that was all approved at the Planning Commission, and that came to the General Committee this evening. Also, we conducted and gave a year-end report of all the activity that we've had last year, which has been a very busy year. And also, the Planning Commission elected new officers for the coming year. The new chairman is Jeff Coker. The vice chairman is Tim Altizer. Secretary is Vanessa Silkwood. And the assistant secretary is Charles Hasty. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Anything else, Alderman Peterson?
No, thank you.
Appreciate that. Chairman Robertson, Capital Projects. Oh, sorry. You're good.
Just briefly, I want to report that tomorrow at 5:30, the Capital Projects Committee will be meeting, and we have a long list of projects to receive the status and to answer any questions that committee members will have. It ranges from Rockland Road project to Walton Ferry straightening out the light synchronization. So it's a long agenda. Come tomorrow night to be ready to ask questions and see where we are on these projects. Thank you, Mayor.
Chairman Robertson, thank you. Chief of Operations, Jesse.
Thank you. I'm not positive, but I think it sounds like maybe Taco Tuesdays might be a future thing we have here at City Hall. I'm sure we could find some a budget appropriation somewhere to do that. I will never forget a taco polygon for the rest of my life.
Give me the warning. I want the warning.
And just to clarify, too, I did ask Chief Bush for the SAFER grant personnel staffing numbers, which I got in like 5 minutes. So I need to put the numbers to those. So I'm going to work on that and get it back to you as soon as possible so we don't have to do a special called meeting. But Chief Bush has done exactly what I asked him to, so thank you for that, Chief Bush. Mr. Gallo, congratulations. I hope you're still watching. And, you know, the advice I got from Alderman Edwards when I came from California was do not bring California with you. So those thoughts may be up here, but congratulations. We look forward to having you. And anything we can do to help, let us know. Some good news. The final ruling came out on ARPA funds, so we've had multiple workshops talking about ARPA. I have a webinar tomorrow, and I've asked our consultant to give us a briefing. But from a first glance, it looks like the rule is much more lenient than the original rule and may allow us greater flexibility. So I will keep the board apprised of what we find out, but it looks to be very favorable for the city. So that's excellent news because there's a lot of strings attached to it right now, and it looks like some of those are being pulled back so that cities can spend this money quickly. Big shout out to all the departments who have worked storm debris. PD came in and helped us. Fire did a tremendous job. Sarah and Trace and their crew not only have the FEMA cleanup reimbursement paperwork we're doing for the tornado, but on top of that, we, as you know, had a snowstorm. So got out on the roads and got them plowed. So big thank you to Trace, his staff, Sarah and her staff who have been working diligently to take on these additional tasks and with everything else that they're already doing. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on is the 2 days of trash that were missed due to inclement weather. I just want to let everyone know out there that there was no alderman who was on a Thursday or Friday route who agreed with the decision that I made to have trash collected on its regular route on Monday. I made that decision because when we looked at the schedule, it was going to take a full 2 weeks to get us back to doing routes on their planned day. So when I considered 2 weeks of confusion for missed routes, whether it's 1 day or 2 days, it seemed to be more disruptive than just pushing from the inclement weather days to the following week. So we had Thursday, Friday, and Saturday where we could not operate those heavy vehicles and do backdoor service. So I just want everyone to know that it was no alderman who was in favor of not collecting Thursday and Friday, and that was my decision based on what would be the least disruptive to the entire city. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Appreciate that. I did not include my report in the packet. I got a little bit busy last week. You will get twice as much of a mayoral report at the next meeting. Does any entertain a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn from Alderman Robertson, a second from Alderman Waters. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously.